This is Nan McKay, and I would like to welcome you to the Peace Through Business Leadership Development Forum. And I'd like to introduce you to our guest, Manizha Wafeq. Manizha graduated from the inaugural Peace Through Business class in 2007 and is currently teaching her 13th year of the program in Kabul as the In-Country Facilitator for Afghanistan. In this role, she has taught and mentored more than 400, in fact, she can tell us how many recently, Afghan businesswomen in Kabul and other smaller provinces. You can learn more about Manizha's by listening to her podcast on the Peace Through Business podcast. It seems like Afghanistan is being hit hard in more than one way. The terrorist attack on the hospital in Kabul, killing 24 or 25 women and babies, is just beyond horrific. Doctors Without Borders has pulled out of the hospital, and now you're also hit by the coronavirus pandemic. When anyone in the United States even starts to whine about having to stay at home, I think you have nothing to complain about. Realize what Afghanistan is going through. Now, I know you were stranded here and are finally able to go back home this month. And knowing you, I'm sure you have been in contact with everyone at home. So I just want you to tell us what's happening. So welcome, Manizha.
Thank you, Nan. It's really great to be here with you today. I mean, online, which is a great thing. Technology has helped us all to really cope with the current situation of pandemic and working from our homes, but I mean, working from homes. So that's really great. This is very unfortunate, Nan, to tell you that in Afghanistan, for the last 3 months, when the pandemic and the lockdown started, businesses also, they got shut down, similar like every other country, but it's a little bit different. We checked with a number of businesswomen. We did a survey as Afghanistan Women's Chamber of Commerce, as you know already, and others may also know that apart from Peace Through Business and Institute for Economic Empowerment of Women that I'm working with, I'm also founder of the first Chamber of Commerce that's specifically, focusing on women's issues, Afghanistan Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So we conducted a survey. And through that survey, we found that 85% of our women-owned businesses were closed due to the pandemic, and they were not able to really do anything like even not working online or keeping their employees or providing services somehow or doing their productions and whatever type of businesses they were. And the other very disappointing figure that we found out was that only 10 out of 100 women had come up with some creative idea how to change or to really convert their production or their work as soon as the lockdown started. And so this was disappointing that, wow, 90 other women, they went lost and they did not have any idea of how to really manage and cope with the situation. And so this really also gave us an idea of what next and what other things are needed to be done with women-owned businesses in the country, which is, of course, to help them put together a crisis management plan, to increase their exposure, because exposure also widens your perspective and widens your knowledge and your know-how. And so when things like this happen, you just don't wonder and just you don't sit still and not do anything about it. So we really need to do a lot of work with our businesswomen in Afghanistan to increase their exposure and to um, help them learn crisis management. And the other issue was that all of them mentioned that pandemic and the lockdown started right after winter, and winter season in Afghanistan is really hard. You know, businesses are down, sales are down, so they had already spent a lot of their cash that they had saved from the previous summer and spring season. So they were with all the hope that as soon as spring starts, they will just go ahead and they will increase sales. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. And the other issue with Afghanistan, which added to all of this, was that we had our presidential elections. And our presidential elections from last year, October, the results did not announce until March 2020. So you can imagine how many months before pandemic all of us were living in uncertainty and in a type of unstable political situation that everyone was kind of waiting, and everyone had on hold their activities, like, okay, let's wait what will happen, who becomes the president, and ministers would change, cabinet will change, all the whole political climate would change. So investors and businesses had been on hold, for a few months before even the pandemic. So this was, an overall overview situation that, women were tripled or 4 times affected than men during this time because of, the size of their businesses, because of the type of their businesses, because of also what kind of access they have to, what kind of buyers and clients, because a lot of men, they are working with government, within international organizations, international troops, camps, and so on. They are their clients. And so for them, it did not matter much. But for women, because they're, unfortunately, their clients were really people, consumers, they lost it. I mean, the situation really affected them badly.
Well, and then on top of everything, you have the Doctors Without Borders that have pulled out of all the hospitals in Kabul, or did they just pull out of that one?
They just pulled out of that one. Uh, but this is so unfortunate. That's unfortunate. And also, on daily basis, we have attacks here and there, in various provinces. Recently, by recently, I mean 2 days ago, a vehicle of our Human Rights Commission, of 2 employees of Human Rights Commission, was exploded by a mine, and so the 2 employees lost their lives. One was a 24 years old young woman who had just returned from her bachelor degree from Bishkek. And the other one was around 34 something, a man who had kids and, whose wife remained, and parents, all the family members that he was taking care of, unfortunately, also financially. So now the whole family is wondering. It's disheartening, Nan. And all of us are so much tired of this killing situation, that on daily basis we lose young military men, we lose young civilians, we lose professionals, we lose children. it's unfortunate. Our hospitals get attacked, schools get attacked, universities, Human Rights Commission, public offices. Yeah, it's we don't understand what kind of fight in this century is going on in our country.
I don't know how you find any inspiration anywhere. I just don't know how you do it. With one after another just hitting you back and forth. How do you even maintain your equilibrium?
It's very hard. Um, for us, this situation itself is is an inspiration. It's a motivation. It's just, it gets us up every morning and tells us that do something. We have to do something. Otherwise, this will continue. People will be continuously in current situation and poverty. People will die. People will be killed. Rural people will remain ignorant, innocent, and unexposed. Sometimes it breaks my heart, but also it gives me inspiration and as well as motivation to do something. Is when I think about, because I've traveled a lot throughout the country, and every time when faces of our older women and men, when they come in front of me, and that something, that reminds me of innocence, ignorance, and unexposure of our people to the development, to a better way of living, because all I can see in the face of a 50 years old woman or a 50 years old man is that they have experienced always war. And so for them, I see that, that they know that this is how one can live, and they have accepted it. And this is not acceptable for me. And this is hurting me. This is really, really disheartening for anyone who loves people. I mean, it's not about loving, your own country and your own people, but loving people, humanity. And for a person who's been exposed and who knows, what's happening in other parts of the world, and how people are living, how differently people are living, how, civilized, how developed in terms of all kinds of possibilities, opportunities, facilities. And then when I go and see them, and then, that disheartening situation and that hurting is a motivation for me, is a commitment for me, that, Manizha, you should do something. You should not stop doing something for this country, for this country's people, because they need it. They need it the most.
How did the election make a difference in the situation, or did it?
Oh, this is unfortunate. As I said, that we do not understand what kind of war is going on in our country. Uh, Afghanistan has such a complex situation politically, geographically, with our neighborings, with our international allies, and everyone. So our election was also affected by all of these complexities of everyone in power and everyone who wants to remain powerful in the country. And we always want to remain optimist, and we always want to show hopefulness, and we want to say that yes, we are hopeful. Okay, another round of democratic elections happened, another round of peaceful transition happened, but sometimes when you see you don't see a lot of change in the leadership. And when you don't see a lot of change in the leadership, that's not very hopeful then. And you're like, oh, I'm not sure if the same guy who used to serve in in the other ministry and did not serve well, now he is changed from that ministry and he has become a minister of this other ministry. How will he serve better in this other ministry when he did not prove himself in this other ministry? So apart from the president and few others, everyone is really trying to get their share in the cabinet, in the ambassadors' roles, the diplomatic offices of Afghanistan, and everyone is about placing their own family members. It's a very unfortunate situation. It's not about placing competent people. It's about placing family members, placing relatives. That all what matters to them, unfortunately.
That's so difficult to deal with. I don't. I'm wondering whether uh, you kind of what your plan is to help the women if you've got only 10% that were able to continue. What do you do with the rest of the women? You've got the political environment. You've got still got COVID that is not going away anytime soon. At least I don't think it is. And you've got the unrest constantly of the danger of the security. Have you got a plan?
Oh, we make a lot of plans, but it depends. Sometimes it doesn't help. It doesn't happen, but sometimes yes, it does. Yeah. So we have plans. We have based on the survey that we did in the beginning of April. We put together a number of recommendations, a statement. We shared it with the president. We shared it with the first lady. She has promised that she will look for some of those recommendations, a solution that we have requested for help, that they will look for it. One of the recommendations, of course, that we had given was an immediate rolling out of easy loans to micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, women-owned and as well as men-owned. And I'm glad to share that recently our central bank came up with a very quick, small policy to assign two semi-government banks in the country to provide easy loans, long-term and on easy terms, loans to MSMEs, which is great. I mean, at least one thing at a time. If it happens, that's a great thing. And then on the other side, one of the recommendation was that to the president was that we had always looked for government to become a client to our women-owned businesses, to buy from our women-owned businesses. For that, the president really pushed our National Procurement Authority. So currently we have a number of our clothing companies. There are 15 of them that we have put them together as an association, and we are trying to get them a contract. It's in the process. The government wants to order them a lot of stuff that the government needs, including masks, sheets for the hospitals, uniforms, protective suits for the doctors, and as well as some other government public service employees. So soon government will also buy from a number of our women-owned businesses. And we have been trying to raise some funding so we could roll out some easy loans, because as AWCCI, we had started a revolving fund end of 2019, and we rolled out a number of loans in the beginning of the year before the lockdown and pandemic was announced in February. And so currently we are in touch with some banks and some donor agencies to get in some more money into that revolving fund, so we could also roll out some more cash as loan as long-term loan to our women-owned businesses. So these are some plans on our side. But also, there are a number of other organizations that are showing interest, such as the Institute for Economic Empowerment of Women, IEW, Peace Through Business, that after July's leadership development program, we will continue helping women to put together their crisis management plans, to increase their exposure and those kind of things. So, according to the survey's findings, areas that were issues, we are putting together plans to really have put together and putting together plans to respond to the situation and to help our women.
Well, it's awfully hard to plan for tomorrow when today is so uncertain. I so appreciate what you're saying. Knowing you, you just never stop. You're like the Energizer Bunny that just keeps going, and she puts her head down and just keeps swinging regardless of what comes in front of her. And I so admire your bravery, your fortitude, uh, your passion that you have. You've just
Thank you.
you're such an important person for Afghanistan, and you're an important person for the whole world. And everyone should look at you as a role model. So
Thank you,
thank
Nan.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share the situation with everyone. Thank you.